All right, so I'm here with Scott Sanders from Tobacco Barn Distillery, and we're talking about how they got started and what all happens here. So, Scott, just to kind of get us started, how did this all come together?
We came together because my partner, Dan Dawson, 1979 or so, he had a grant from the state to turn corn into ethanol during the fuel crisis. He did that for about a year. And then the fuel crisis went away. He and I are friends with my other partner, Sean Coogan. We were sitting around chatting back in early 2010. We talked about the laws were changing in Maryland that you could open a craft distillery. It wasn't here yet. So we put together a business plan and did a little industry survey, and then we started the business in 2014. The farm's been in the Dawson family 93, 94 years. The farm's been in cultivation for over 200. It was a tobacco farm for most of that. We were awarded this last year as the #1 farm distillery in America by the American Craft Spirits Association. To be in that, you had to be a craft distiller, none of the big factory conglomerates. Still, there's 2,600 craft distilleries in the U.S.
So basically, we've got this history of having distillers here in St. Mary's County with you guys doing what you're doing right here. You're kind of joining that history, that tradition. Is that something that carries into your work on the everyday?
Yeah, we make a high rye bourbon. So it's 25% rye, and we know it was a high rye because even today, Basil Hayden bourbon is high rye. Is a testament to the old granddad. So that's how they do it. So we picked 25% because that brings out that rye flavor.
For a lot of folks who don't know too much about making bourbon, can you tell me a little bit more about how is bourbon made and how do you guys make it?
It's not that mysterious. You basically make a corn beer first. So you get your grains. We use 75% corn, 25 rye. Very blessed. We're on top of an ancient aquifer here. Been around for 35 million years. So we get pure water out of the ground. You heat the corn to one temperature, you heat the rye to another temperature. Most of the water is for cooling. We don't waste our water. What's left looks like oatmeal. So we separate that. We de-water it. So we get a lot of water out, and then we fill up 4 drums a week with the mash. It's high in protein. And so we send that up to BJ Bowling's farm. He feeds his cattle with it.
Oh.
Yeah, and that way we don't throw it away. And then the water that's left, 10, 12% suspended solids, a lot of protein in there. And other local farmers take that and put it on their hay bales, and their cattle like it. So we distill once, then we still it the second time. The second time it comes out clear. We make bourbon mainly, but whether you're making bourbon, rum, gin, vodka, everything comes out clear. The only color in products comes from what you do to it. For bourbon, there's very strict requirements. You can't color it, but you're required to put it in a new charred oak barrel. So all the color in bourbon comes from the barrel.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that. If you have like a dark barrel, are you going to have like a darker bourbon? Okay.
Yes, it comes out clear. And then we put it into, we make 2 barrels a week. We fill the 2 barrels down there. That's where our rick house is. We have probably about 500 barrels down there aging.
Wow.
A little bit over 5 years, 3 months or so.
Can we take a look at some of the different types of bottles you have?
We do all single barrel because what differentiates us from the corporations is we blend before we put it in the barrel. So we have to take pretty tight hearts cuts. So when it comes off the still, the first 15% or so is called the heads. The backside, 25% or so is tails. And so we only put about 60% of what we distill into the barrel. It's an expensive way to do it.
What's the benefit of doing it that way?
Better bourbon. So we make a single barrel bourbon. We just released what's called bottled and bond bourbon. So bottle and bond is kind of an archaic term. In reality, it was the first consumer protection law in the U.S. Because in the late 1800s, we didn't care about baby formula and medicine then. We cared about whiskey.
Yeah.
So they had very strict standards for bottle and bond. This is our rye. We make a little bit of that because Maryland's a rye state. And in this has been our hit of the year, Maryland Bourbon Cream. If you've ever had a Bailey's,
yeah,
this is kind of like a Bailey's, but better. Try that on yourselves. Like I'm saying, you put that for ice cream. We use our bourbon in this, and it's a 4-year-old bourbon we put in there. That is a great drink. It goes well by itself over coffee.
It definitely sounds like that's your Christmas bourbon right there. You know what's my favorite? This honey-flavored rum right here.
Do you know about Maul Dyer, our local witch?
I do.
Yeah, she went witch. We make this in testament to poor Maul. We make that from our bourbon mash, and then we put in 2 types of cinnamon bark.
Scott, thanks for taking us through. Really appreciate it.
Appreciate it, Jonathan.
Sharing a lot of really cool stuff, and you're doing some really neat work here.
Thank you.
And for folks who are interested in learning more, where can they find you?
Our website, www.tobaccobarndistillery.com, or come here and join us on the weekend. We're open Saturday and Sunday, 11 to 4.
Thanks
Appreciate
again.
it.
I appreciate it.